me, Geordie Pete on Hollywood Balls Live as well. It's that time again. It's Soccer Saturday. Some big occasions this weekend. Tense build-ups, nerves, and the driving desire to succeed where others fail. But enough about Married at First Sight. Let's get on with the show. Good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are in the world. We've lost another guest, but we've still got our other two. No doubt our third guest will be back in a second. It's me, Geordie Pete Redding. It's Soccer Saturday. It's him, Kevin Campbell. Delighted to welcome us also Dave Beasant in the house. Before I start and introduce what's coming up and introduce our guests, Kev, Dave, have you seen this Married at First Sight business? I've got to give a special shout out. I've got two pals on it. Amy Christophers is on it, and Frankie Spencer from Dubai. Apparently it's this new reality show which has taken ITV by storm. You go on there, you meet someone for the first time, and you get married. That's all there is to it.
I could tell you this much: if you've got time to be watching that stuff,
I'm just supporting two friends who've gone on it. Unbelievable stuff. Anyway, listen, joining the legend that is Super Kevin Campbell today, Dave Beasant, a keeper with a goal kick so long the England rugby team are jealous of him. He loves a penalty save at Wembley, and he was on the official board member of the Crazy Gang. Also in the house, legendary whistler Mark Halsey, a voice of reason in today's crazy VAR world. Also drafted in today to keep an eye on Super Kev and Big Dave. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, Pete. Morning, Pete.
Kev, got to start with you before we meet today's guests. Here's what we've got coming up. The return of Ronaldo. Want to touch on that. Pressure on FIFA also to act on the terrible scenes of this week. Why Man United, in my opinion, had the most outstanding transfer window. Our baller of the week. And exciting news about a new partner coming up for our most famous section, the predictions. On that note, Kev, you unfortunately weren't with us last week. George and Andy from Down Under were tied on 5 points, so you've got a lot of work to do this weekend.
That's good. George is finding some form, isn't he?
He's finding some form. So before we meet the guests, Kev, how's your week been? What have you been up to?
It's been a good week. Been pretty busy. Doing all sorts of stuff. Mostly football related, obviously, and. But it's been good, Pete. I must admit, doing the podcast as well.
Yep.
I've kept me sane and trying to keep the Arsenal fan base steady. That's important as well.
I'm going to touch on that, by the way, because I feel your pain. Obviously, being a Newcastle fan, I get it every week. But it is something that we're gonna have a look on. Dave Beasant, a big welcome, making your debut for Hollywood Balls. Going to take you back to the beginning, though. Got to ask you. How did the move from Edgware to Wimbledon materialise? Because that was the big move, wasn't it, for you?
That was the start of it all. Yeah, I mean, it was a dream for me to be a professional footballer, and I was fortunate. I was in a decent team, and about 6 months prior to me signing pro at Wimbledon, I had the privilege to play with Brian Steen and his brother Edwin Steen.
Wow.
They were Edgware Town as well, and Luton came down and snapped them up, and the talk was they were coming back for me. But we had a very good winger called Peter Shadindi. He was a 6'2" black lad, quick as lightning, but he played on the wing. And apparently Dave Beasant came to look at him, and on the day he didn't shine. I took his eye, went down for a trial, and I mean I was a printer at the time. I was working as a printer, and when the three weeks trial finished, he said to me, "What are you earning as a printer?" And I went, £25 a week. And he went, "We'll match it."
Brilliant.
So I done myself out of £13 a week because I was earning that at Edgware Town. So, but listen, to be given the opportunity to turn pro was all I wanted.
Yep. Something else that, I mean, reading through, both yours and Mark's biographies, it's it's fascinating. But something I wanted to, I don't know how many people touch on it, but it was, people remember the crazy gang, Wimbledon, they have their favourite players from it. But what a remarkable achievement if you think about those successive promotions. And then your first season in the top flight, finishing 6th. I mean, it's utterly remarkable, really. What a journey that was.
It was unbelievable. You know, you say as dreams go, and to think that, you know, I wanted to, first of all, sign professional, done so, wanted to play at the top flight, never dreamed I'd be playing at the top flight with Wimbledon. You know, the story to go through the leagues, especially at the beginning, we went from the 4th division to the 3rd division, relegated the next season, promoted the next season, relegated the next season, and then the real journey began. You know, we started to recognise what we were good at, and that got us through to, we only spent one season in the 3rd division. Then we went to the 2nd division, which is the championship. We had 2 seasons there, and then to the as you say, to the 1st division. And I mean, this is the thing, where when people talk about the game against Liverpool, you know, we finished 6th in the league that season. Although Liverpool were fantastic, you know, they were a different class side in that era with John Barnes and those type of players they had there at that time. And but you know, I think we drew with them at Plough Lane 1-1. We lost at Anfield 2-1. So there was always tight games. I'm
going to touch on that later, because we've had Laurie Sanchez on, and he said that, you know, he basically said what you were saying, that people, yes, Wimbledon were underdogs in that cup final, but at the end of the day, it was, you went in there full of confidence, because you, as I said, you were unbeaten against Liverpool. So, I mean, you know, it was only you guys in that dressing room that thought, why is everyone sort of not backing us?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on the day, I think we were 4-1, which in you know, a game of 2 teams that are in the same league, it's
great odds.
Yeah, I think we lumped on that one, Kev. As you might have guessed, those are games when you could bet on football.
Brilliant stuff. Mark, speaking of goalkeepers, you started your career between the sticks as well, and you featured for the likes of Cambridge City, Hertford Town, and Barnet. How was the transition from being a goalkeeper to referee? How did that come about?
Well, I was like Dave, obviously playing non-league football, wanted to be a pro, and obviously didn't count. Weren't very good at goalkeeping and turned to refereeing. And here I am. They say you've got to be mad to be a goalkeeper, even worse to be a referee. That's what happened to me. But listen, you know, I love my time as a player in non-league, obviously with Hertford Town, St Albans City, Barnet, and Welwyn Garden City, and I had a great time. And after 12 years, I had a couple of injuries, fell out of love with the game, and it was a good friend of mine that I played football with on a Sunday morning in the Welwyn Hatfield Sunday League, and he played centre half, and it was terror, a referee's nightmare. Referee back was turned, he would give someone a punch in the face or kick him up the backside, and I'm playing the goals behind him, and I'm thinking, and he turned to referee. He went to referee. I couldn't believe it. So. I love me cricket, so he's house backed onto our cricket pitch, and every time I walk around, because you do the lap when you're back, and he kept on me, Mark, become a referee, you'll be good at it. I said, Russell, I have got no interest of being a referee or becoming a referee whatsoever, so stop getting on at me. And he just kept on and on and on, and eventually I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go.
I'm going to give it a go.
I fell out of love with football, and I just said to him, if I can take the exam without doing the 8-week course, read the laws of the game, I'll do it. And I've done that. I passed the exam and I looked back. So I started off in the Welwyn Hatfield League, into the Herts County League, and up into the Isthmian League, as Dave will know very well, into the conference like the National League, and I never looked back. So it was a good thing I did stop playing and become a referee.
It was quite a fast track journey as well, Mark, because you got the Premier League nod in 1999. Your first game was Wimbledon Coventry. Do you remember much about that? That's got to have been physical. It must have been. You must have been in action there.
That must have been Phil Klein.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the sound's not as good. The sound's breaking up, guys. But
okay,
I think. Listen. Yeah, following. Sorry, the sound's gone a bit.
Yeah, we
ask him again, please.
We were just saying that obviously your 1999 was the time where you got into the Premier League, and your first game was Wimbledon and Coventry. Do you remember much about it? Struggling with the sound, I think.
The connection, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
That connection. VA, what is it? Fourth official. We need a fourth official in.
Scottish Darsley Park. Dave, were you involved in that game? Were you? Or
no, I thought you said 89, 99. No,
99. No. But it must have been a heck of a game for Mark to be involved in. Wimbledon and Coventry. Kev, while Mark sorts out his VAR, we'll come back up to you. I want to touch on. We're going to look at international football towards the end of the show, but not football matters, but those horrific scenes that were seen in the England game visiting Hungary again. Yet again, here we are talking about that. Even Boris Johnson tweeted yesterday to ask FIFA what they're going to do. What are FIFA going to do? It seems that these fans, you can't call them fans, these animals that go on and do this, they know that they can just go back and keep coming back to the game unless that Hungary as a nation are punished within the football world.
Pete, listen. One thing I'm going to tell you, don't get me started on all this, because we're wasting our time. FIFA are having another investigation. How many investigations do they need? So again, I expect nothing to happen. I expect a little slap on the wrist and we move forward, because we're wasting our time. We are absolutely wasting our time. Go on, Dave. I mean, it's an awful scenario. I mean, they've got to get tough, haven't they?
It's just ridiculous. I mean, the two governing bodies, one of them sanctioned a ban, and that's UEFA sanctioned a ban, and FIFA just let the game go ahead with a full capacity crowd there, which is completely wrong. The two bodies have got to get themselves together and say, as one football unit, they've been banned. They stay banned. Forget whether it's UEFA or FIFA. They can't allow those fans back in. And you knew it was. The thing was, it was always going to happen. You knew it was. And we're a multiracial football team, and it's going to happen.
Again, when you've got Boris Johnson as well asking FIFA what they're going to do, Kev, I think we know quite rightly what you said.
Yeah, I think Boris Johnson should keep quiet, don't you, Pete? Boris Johnson, with his track record, I think he should keep quiet. Look, I've got to say, Bez touched on a good point. I think the team are multiracial, and the way the players handled the situation, beat them and didn't react. A few of the lads obviously drinking out the cups that were coming on for a bit of banter. I thought that was good. But, you really do look to the governing bodies to really do something about it, to try and stamp it out. But they do nothing, Pete. They have a big investigation, and then all of a sudden it's a small fine. That's it.
I mean, if you're looking at it, you're saying it's a small fine, not even behind closed doors, which is the minimal requirement, and maybe even trying to stamp this out, lack of participation for the country and their fans that are involved in that. I think that's probably the only thing that their local FA is going to understand. I mean, I was reading a story this morning that they came out and praised their fans, said they did nothing wrong, and they were vilified by the away fans. It was no different, according to what England booing the Italian national anthem is what was said. So when you've got that sort of mentality at the head of their game, what chance have you got?
Pete, there's a lot goes under the radar, and a lot goes under the bridge, right? Sometimes you can't point the finger at one, and if you don't point the finger at another. We've had problems with it in this country, and it hasn't really been dealt with. So again, we've seen politicians come out and say things, and it get turned on its head. So listen, again, I've had enough of it. I won't even waste my breath on it anymore, because yet another investigation is gonna turn to nothing, mate.
Mark's back in. Hopefully he's got his VAR sound sorted out. Are you there, Mark?
I can just about hear you guys. It's
okay.
The sound is awful.
Okay.
I don't know if it's my end or your end.
No, it's your end.
I think, yeah. Are you sure you're not at Darsley Park?
I'll tell you what, hang on, give me, let me see if I sort it out. Give me 2 minutes, okay?
No problem.
Come back in. Go out and come back in, Mark.
Yeah, go out and come back in, no problem. Okay. we're going to move on to some happier stuff. Like I said, Dave, I wanted to speak about that cup final because it's one of the cup finals that I remember as a fan. Funnily enough, a couple of months ago, Kev and I were talking about it was one of those days where, as a kid, you would tune into Grandstand. You had the whole build up.
You remember where you were, don't you?
Yeah, your players were arriving, and I could still see that penalty. And I remember, even as a kid, Dave, when I saw Aldridge step up, and I was just thinking, crikey, who's in goal? He looks massive. And I was thinking, I'm so glad. Did you feel when Aldo stood up, do you think, I reckon I can save this? Was that going through your mind?
It was something that was spoke about. And as you said, that in those days, the FA Cup, the build-up was from after the game the week before. It was the whole week, and we had a press day where we trained at the stadium, and they come down and Motti, he come up to me and he said, Dave, there's never been a penalty saved in a cup final. John Aldridge has taken, I think, 12 or 13 penalties this season, scored every one of them. What are you going to do if he gets a penalty? And I said, well, we did see, we don't see every goal like we do in modern day football, but in those days, because Liverpool were that good, they were on TV more than any other team. So you did have the opportunity to see them. And believe it or not, we had an analysis in those days that used to video the football matches that were on the TV, break them down. And so he would look at me and say, well, John Aldridge, these are his penalties that we've got on TV. So I had a look at them, and he done that little stutter when he came up to the ball. And more often than not, the goalkeeper had committed to go one way. Like in the modern day, you're seeing, unfortunately with Rashford with the missed penalty, but he'd done everything right. Mm-hmm. The keeper had committed himself, and then he tried to be a bit too cute and put it right in the corner. But that's the way it was. So the keeper commits themselves, because if you stay to the last, literally as he kicks the ball, you're very, very seldom going to save a penalty, because the pace they hit the ball with, you're just not going to get there. So I thought I stood still, seeing the footage. I didn't stand still. I went to my left. He struck it well, but he
did.
I said if it was 2 yards outside the post on the day, I felt I was going to get there, because he just felt that way, that big. But it's funny you saying about the size, because not too many goalkeepers in those days would wear. I chose to wear a yellow shirt.
Yep.
Because I said I felt it made me look bigger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on that cut run, we beat Newcastle that year on route to Wembley.
I was there. and
do you remember Mirandina?
Yeah, he kicked you up the backside, didn't he?
Kicked me out the backside, yeah. And
I think that was all he kicked all afternoon, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But that cup draw, you see, this was where the magic of the cup was for me, Kevin, Dave, because the draw that was made was on the radio, and I was at school in my last year, and the ice cream man had it on the radio, the draw that came out, and all the Newcastle fans were cheering because we got Wimbledon, and I think you won 3-1 that day.
3-1, yeah, 3-1.
It was quite a
there he is.
There he's back from Darsley Park. How's that, Mark? Is that any better? Just
that's that Spanish Wi-Fi, I think.
The good thing is, Mark, you're this side of the bars and not behind them.
Yeah.
Listen, if it does go awry, Mark, don't. If it does go awry, because you're obviously having some problems with the Wi-Fi, don't worry about it. We'll sort it out. Not a problem. So yeah, Dave. But speaking of that Newcastle side, as if luck would have it, you ended up at Newcastle. You were a clutch of signings, and not just me. We all thought. We were all seriously excited for that side, because there was John Hendry, there was a host of big names that came. It just didn't work out, did it?
No, it's unfortunate. Cup final was my last game. Newcastle come in for me, William McFall, signed there. Really looked forward to it. And as you said, Andy Thorne, who was a very underrated centre half, he came as well. From Scotland, you had John Hendry and John Robertson, Darren Jackson. Had a decent side, and we was looking forward to the start of the season. And as you know, first game of the season, we go to Kev's old club as well, Everton. TC Tony Cottee playing his first game, and he gets a hat-trick.
Yeah, we got Tony Cottee blasted you, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the first goal was after about 45 seconds or a minute and a half, something like that. It was ridiculous. But the thing was then was, you know, what was going on behind the scenes, the boardroom battle, the Seymour brothers. Sure. So John Hall, who was so good for the football club in the end, was trying to get on, and all the finances, pretty similar to today. So sometimes when you look at how the club's being run, was put in the wrong direction.
It was a shame because, I mean, when you look at, it happens to every club, I know that, but every fan looks at their own club, and Newcastle have had a host of players like that. John Robertson was one, John Dahl Thomason was another, in the fact that it just didn't work out. Some clubs just don't work out, do they, for certain individual players?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have liked to have stayed up there for a longer period of time, but, you know, when the club come to you and say, look, you know, we need some money, we've got to sell you, and then you feel, well, if that's the situation that the club are looking at, that they're saying you've got to go because we need the money, then you take the opportunity. And the fact that Chelsea wanted me, and it was coming more or less straight back down. I hadn't sold my house down south, so, you know, I just got on with it and just signed a new contract, same type of contract I'd signed at Newcastle. So from me, it was you know, a good move.
It was. Mark, I think you're just using this as an excuse to show everyone that you're sitting outside in the sun, if I'm honest.
Look at the blue sky.
Just letting you know, just showing you I'm not bars, Dave. I am this side.
Mark, you know, I just wanted to touch on you. I mean, the Premier League, you literally fast-tracked. Your journey was so quick. A year after your Premier League debut, you were added to the list of FIFA referees, and you were involved in a Toulon tournament, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yeah, very. I mean, obviously, my first tournament, I only just got promoted to FIFA, and as you say, it's the highest you can go as a referee. Yeah, I was. When I don't know what Dave was like as a player, but when I was obviously coming up through non-league, I always liked referees that let the game flow and engage with the players and had a smile on their face and had a laugh and a joke with the players. And that's what I took into my refereeing days. When I finished playing, I took that. You know, that's how I wanted myself to referee games, and it worked for me. And I see, you know, the players seem to like me. They respect. I had an error. If I made a mistake, I put my hands up and say, "Listen, sorry, mate, I got that wrong," or that's never a free kick. And I thought, yeah, you possibly got that wrong. So I would disagree with you. So that's what I sort of took playing days, and it got me up through, like I say, through the ranks very quickly. Don't mean to say that because you're an ex-player, you're going to be a good referee. You still got to have that, I think, that natural ability and that feel and show empathy for the game and with the players. And I think that's what's missing in today's top level refereeing, with, you know, referees not showing empathy for the game. And I always went into it, players a chance, giving them that one opportunity, and then if they overstep the mark again, they knew I would sort them out. And I always remember going to Stoke, and Ken Wynne-Jones always come up to me saying every time I saw my name on the list, they were happy that I was there as well. So
that's good to have that rapport. Kev, I wanted to come back up to you. We were just talking off air, and we were talking about media and the lack of it, the lack of their focus currently with the stories. Let's touch on your club, Arsenal. There's a phrase that on social media when people gang up and go for the same story, it's called a pylon. There's been a bit of a media pylon at your old club this week. It's the easiest way, isn't it?
It's a double pylon, I could tell you that much. It's a double pylon at the moment. Listen, one thing we do know at Arsenal is the media do not like it when Arsenal do well. They love it when Arsenal do bad because, you know, the fan base reacts so quick, but they are piling on big time. And you know what? Everybody's taking pot shots. So
everyone,
let's all know this. Put your tin hat on, strap up, because it's going to get bumpy. That's for sure.
It just, I mean, look at the facts. Okay, they haven't started well, and there's a little bit of a hangover from the end of last season. Yeah, but if you look at toward the end of last season, Kev, they were playing well up to a point. They've played 3 this season, and within those 3, they've played 2 of the top sides. So it's a bit early for all that, surely.
Well, look, Pete, if you tell the truth, people would say you're making excuses, right? First game against Brentford, really the team didn't really turn up. It seemed like they weren't up for the battle. And Bez will tell you, and Mark will tell you, when two teams meet, one team gets promotion, and then the established team doesn't match them physically.
Yeah,
you can't win, Pete. You can't win in the Premier League. And having players with COVID, etc. The first 3 games has just been a mess for Arsenal, to be honest. But do you know what? It's 3 games. You got to dust yourself down. Then you've got Norwich coming up. You've got Burnley, and then you've got the North London derby. If you can't get up for them games, then you shouldn't be at Arsenal.
I mean, it is early doors. It's early doors for everyone. I mean, there are teams. If you look at Manchester United, for instance, I'm going to touch on them next, but they started off. I mean, when I saw them against Leeds, I thought, wow, if they keep that up and they play like that, and then they weren't so great against Southampton, but they eked the result out against Wolves. I mean, Wolves battered them in the first half. So people are just finding their feet. There's new players involved. There's new setups. It's exciting. As a ref, Mark, a former ref, it's great for the Premier League to have a certain Cristiano Ronaldo back, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think for me, people say, is it Ronaldo or is it Messi? For me, it's Ronaldo, because he's played in the top leagues in the English Premier League, in the Spanish league, and obviously in Syria, and he's done it in every league, and he's produced wherever he's gone. Messi's only stayed in Spain. So, but I mean, I remember refereeing many, many times and had a great rapport with him. Like Kev, if we weren't up for a game, we went out. Always remember during the Liverpool Man United game, and walking out to that wonderful tune at Anfield, as you all know, and went to blow, done the handshakes. We're
not going to get this story
together. And, and I've got.
Everyone's like,
I've left.
Mark, we're losing.
And I shouted to Dowdy, who was before Fisher. I said, Dowdy, I've left the whistle on the chair in the dressing room. Go and get it quickly. walks over to get it, just making out there was something wrong with me earpiece, and going like this. And got me whistle, and walking back. Cristiano was there. Past him, I said, "Don't nothing out of me." Well, not in those words, but I said, "You'll get absolutely nothing out of me."
Brilliant. How was your? Just got today.
He's gone down, and I've said, "What did I say to you before we kicked off? If you go down easy, you'll get absolutely."
Oh, listen, Mark. We're still having a few problems with your Wi-Fi, but we'll battle on. Dave, I wanted to ask you, as a goalkeeper, you obviously have less sort of one-to-ones with the refs. Have you got any sort of memories of bad refereeing decisions going against you as a keeper? Because the outfield players are more in touch with the likes of Mark, aren't they?
Yeah, I think obviously from my situation, I was the captain of Wimbledon, so I did have a bit more of a relationship with referees, and at the time they was told captains the only ones who could speak to referees, so I did have a bit more of a rapport. But obviously the one that we felt was the biggest injustice was the one that put my name on the map type of thing was Brian Hill in the cup final.
Yeah,
when Clive Goodyear tackled
Brian Hill.
Yeah, and he goes. Aldo falls over his foot, and then he gives a penalty. And like I say, I joke with him because he lived near a relative of mine in Northampton. I used to see him quite often, and I said if it weren't for the fact that he gave that penalty, I might not have got the move I got, because it really just helped me.
Oh,
hey Pete, hold on. I remember a terrible decision from a referee with Bez when we were at Forest. Do you remember Reading away?
Yeah.
Reading away. Best didn't even touch the fella, and he sent him off.
Yeah.
That could have cost us promotion.
We were 2-0 up.
2-0 up we were.
And we drew 3-3.
3-3. Steve, do you remember that miss by Steve Stone where I've squared it? He's right in front of the goal, Pete, and he puts it wide or puts it over the bar. That was the one. That's the game, yeah.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Great memories. And of course, you guys played together at Forest. It's International Weekend, Dave, and I wanted to touch on the fact that quite rightly you were involved with the England setup because of all your performances and Italia 90. I'm going to ask you honestly, were you a little perplexed of Schultz demanding to play in that third, like that playoff game? It was a bit of a nothing game, and it sort of robbed you of that opportunity to represent England, didn't it, in the beginning?
It was one of the biggest disappointments I've had. The fact, because, going to the World Cup is a major thing. Initially I was left out of the squad. Dave Seaman got the nod. He broke his thumb. I go out there. And as you quite rightly say, the game was irrelevant. It's the third and fourth playoff. We got a medal. If you get to the semi-final of the World Cup, you go like the Olympics. You get a bronze medal. So it's not like the third and fourth place determines who gets a medal. Both teams have got their medals. And Bobby Robson, after the disappointment of the semi-final, he said, lads, everyone who's not played will get their World Cup caps.
Okay.
And Schultz he put his hand up. He said, Gaffer, I want to play the whole game. It's going to be my 125th game, and I'm going to retire after that game. And I felt more for Chris Woods than myself, because Woods had been to 2 World Cups, not played a game. Like I said, I was disappointed. And then off the back of what happened in that third and fourth playoff, where Schultz got caught dribbling the ball around, it was maybe just deserves.
I mean, it's just, as I say, those games they're there to be played, and it was ideal anyway. We'll keep in a happy attitude because the show's going along at a nice pace. Thanks for all the messages that are coming in. Lots of people tuned in from Nigeria this morning. We've got Russia, USA in the house. Davy Gallagher, an old drinking partner of mine from Wickham. Morning, lads. Hope you're all well. Likewise, Davy. Mark, I wanted to touch. You do a lot of work. You really, really overcame what was a horrendous time for you, which is well documented. You were very brave. But what interested me, tell me a bit about the SPF Foundation and what is Kill the Hill?
Obviously, I was very honoured when the Steve Prescott Foundation. Obviously, we all know the player that played for St Helens, only for St Helens. Obviously, his legacy is on today.
It's a real shame that we're losing Mark's sound as well as his.
Sort it out, Mark. Sort your power pack out.
It's a real shame. Literally can't hear Mark, so what we might have to do is rearrange to get Mark back on at the show when he's finished his holes, perhaps. A bit of a nightmare, but yeah, he's done a lot of work for this foundation, Kevin, Dave, which ended up him playing this referee in this football and the highest point in the world to raise a lot of money, because if you remember, Mark battled back from throat cancer in order to come back and referee in the game, which is a story in itself, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think anybody who has to go through adversity like Mark Halsey has, you're more willing to do stuff to help other people, and it is a remarkable story. Charity is what we're all about, most of us, but Mark's gone beyond that at times, Pete, having overcome it himself. So absolutely brilliant guy, and he was a really good referee as well, and you could have a bit of banter with him, which helped. So always nice to see the good guys do well.
Yeah, and he felt very reciprocal about you as well. Said one of football's good guys. So there you go, mutual appreciation. Time for a baller of the week, Kev. We missed you last week. You were busy. There's a lot to pick from this week. Our heroes in the footballing world. Who've you gone for?
Well, look, I'm going to give Bez the opportunity to pick the main guy.
Okay.
Right? Because there's one guy, who it is, who's going to be the main guy. I'm going to go with Raheem Sterling.
Yeah.
Pete, because the abuse that young man took was incredible. But he kept his head down and he kept playing, scored his goal, set another goal up, and it was a lovely touch to see him take his shirt off. And his friend who was only 26 years old, who sadly passed away.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give the Baller of the Week to Raheem under such difficult circumstances.
Yeah, and there's an image that came out in the press which shows the appalling fans behind, but and Raheem's looking to the heaven. It's just such a strong image. Dave, have you got a hero or Baller of the Week for us?
Yeah, I think obviously the one that Kev is indicating is Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's broken the all-time international goal scoring record. He's 36 years of age. He looks in unbelievable condition, and that's the reason why Man United have signed him. They know that they've still got a few more years with the ability he's got. And when you look at Portugal, although they've always been a decent side, they've never, apart from when they won the Euros a couple of years back, you wouldn't say they were in the top 4 or 5 in the world. And for him to score that number of goals in not one of the top teams is a remarkable feat. He just scores goals wherever he goes, and that's why Man United have signed him.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that before we get into the prediction side. Everyone's talking about this transfer window, Kev. It's been a hell of a transfer window. So much money flying around, and a lot of it, of course, due to inflated prices of footballers nowadays. But a lot of teams have done good business. Would you agree with me? I think that not just for who's come into Manchester United, but the money they've just got as well. For the young winger to go to Leeds to recoup and make a profit on young Daniel is that I think for me personally, I think Man United have had the best transfer window.
Yeah, I think when you look at the spine of their team, who's come in, Varane at the back is a brilliant signing. Sancho, who is someone who can unlock a door, is really key. And then the pièce de resistance, the main man, you get Ronaldo at the top end of the pitch. I think a lot of the times you think, right, maybe they need a centre midfielder. But I think they could get around that. They create a lot of chances. They need a player who can score the goals. And as proven in the week, Ronaldo, there's no better. There's no one better than Ronaldo when it matters to come up with the goods.
Yeah,
so,
great window. We were listening last night to some of the fans on our TFA Friday evening show, and one of the fans made a really good point. Everyone's talking about Ronaldo, but look at all the players he's got there to fit in with him. You've got Pogba in the mix, along with Bruno Fernandes, who he plays with at international level. Varane, there was a great clip of him giving Wan-Bissaka a little bit of a talk to in the break of play, which just showed his absolute class. So I think it's exciting times, Dave. Would you agree Man United have probably had the best of the transfer window?
Yeah, it's worrying for my team, Chelsea, that because you think that Chelsea are going to have a great chance, but Man United, they're the ones that I think. We all know their signings, but as far as title contenders, you probably wouldn't be looking at them initially until maybe the signing of Ronaldo. But now they've got to be taken seriously, and I think that they could be pushing, City and Chelsea for the title.
Excellent. Listen, it's time to get on to this is the bit that ruins the show, Dave. I told Dave off air how Kev is so
competitive
about this. He writes people's scores down. He won't tolerate any cheating or wrong answers.
Well, you're the one who cheats, Pete.
I've only just started this season. I'm trying to keep a lid on it all. Listen, before we do get into it, congratulations to Andy Briggs from Australia last week, and I owe him an apology because he put his scores in and I sort of mercilessly ripped him and said maybe because he was in Australia he had a couple of cans of Foster's because they're 8 hours ahead of us, but he actually won. He got the 5-0 right. He got the 1-1 draw right as well. So Andy Briggs and our very own George they were level on 5 points. So, Kev, it's time for our red hot predictions. In the last few weeks, all of you have been on fire. Some of you have felt the heat. Right, enough of the puns. Listen, we've got a partner that's going to come on board and partner up on this section, probably one of the most popular on the show. So let's pop his logo up. It's Danny Kwang, who's a regular contributor to what we do with predictions. He loves it. He's got DK hot sauce out, Kev. We've ordered you a batch because I know you love it.
I absolutely love it. Can't wait.
Yeah, he's got the jerk rub in there. He's got DK number 3, which is his citrus banger. He's got them all. So if anyone wants any information about it, just contact me and I'll put you in touch with our Danny DK. What we are going to do is if any of the challengers can beat our pros on the score, they're going to win a choice of their own hot sauce. So it's all to play for now in the predictions. A bit of a different one this week, Kev. We were bemoaning this because our Premier League is out of action. So we're going international. We're going to start with our guest. So Dave, what have you got for us? Ireland against Azerbaijan.
Like you say, it's a little bit difficult now with the internationals. So thanks for bringing me in on this one.
Yeah, no problem.
I think off the back of Ireland having a decent result the other day, their first win for a couple of years, I think they're going to follow up a victory with a 2-1 over Azerbaijan.
Okay, Super Kev.
I've got the same, to be honest with you, 2-1.
Okay, now in the mix today from our fans section, we've got Darren DeCentry, who's on a great run. He won the week before. He was second last week. He's very good at these predictions. So he's on board. Jace Edwards is in as well.
Is Jace back? Good.
Yeah, great to have him as also. What else have we got? We've got Adrian. He loves it, doesn't he? Can't believe it. Adrian Bevington.
Is he back in? Oh, come on, let's smash him up. Let's do him, Bez. Let's get him.
and Tony Manuel, our Newcastle fan based in the Philippines, who's always watching. Hi to you, Tony, and the family. Hope you're well. Okay, so I've gone 2-0 to Ireland. Darren's gone 3-0. Adrian's got 1-0. Jace has got a 1-1 draw, and Tony's gone 2-0 to Ireland. Okay,
what's Adrian got? Sorry,
he's got 1-0 to Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you got them down? Have you got them written down?
I've got them, mate. I've got them.
Yeah. Amazing.
Listen, Pete, it's no point you mentioning them if I don't get them down.
Okay, Dave. See how this pans out. We've got Scotland against Moldova.
Oh, my old roomie from Chelsea, Steve Clark, is manager.
Yep.
Coach who was at Reading with me, Stephen Reid is his coach. So I wish him all the best, and I think they'll win this one 3-1.
Okay, Kev.
I'm gonna go. This is the difficult one for me. I'm gonna go 2-1 Scotland.
Okay, I've gone 2-0 to Scotland. Darren's gone the same as you, Kev. He's got 2-1. Adrian's got 1-0 to Scotland. Jace Edwards has gone 1-0 to Scotland. And Tony in the Philippines, Geordie Tone, has gone 2-1 to Scotland. Okay, England against Andorra, Dave. And but it probably will be a much changed team, do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think there'll be a few changes. So there's going to be the ones that are going to come in and want to try and impress. I still think that the way England are playing at the moment, no matter who they put in that team, is going to do very well. So I've gone 6-0.
Oof, get in there. We've got I think we've got a couple of sixes as well in there. Kev?
I've got 5, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I have as well. I've gone 5. Darren's the same as Big Dave. He's gone 6-0. Adrian's gone 6-0. Jace Edwards has gone one better. He's gone 7-0 to England. And Tony's gone 5-0. So emphatic predictions for England. The next one really intrigues me, David. They haven't been brilliant so far in the last few games, Italy, and they're away at Switzerland, who are playing reasonable football. So a tough game in store there. Yeah,
and Switzerland, although they're second in the group, they've only played 2 games, but they won them both. So it is going to be a tough test. I think that off the back of the Euros, everyone was expecting Italy to come out firing. They had a tough result the other night. But I think they nick this one. I think it'll be 2-1 to Italy.
Okay, Super Kev.
I'm going 1-0 Italy.
Okay, you've obviously seen my scores this morning. You've been looking through the camera. I've got 1-0 as well.
Okay,
To Italy.
leave it.
Leave it out. Darren's gone 1-1. Adrian's got 2-1 to Italy. Jace has got 2-0 to Italy. Tony's gone for a curveball. He's gone 3-0 to Switzerland. I'm not going to say anything because it
Tony,
it
and that's where you fail.
Tony, you can put the San Miguel down, son. I think
right.
you can message in now if you meant it the other way, but I've got Switzerland 3-0. Okay, and last for the weekend, quite a good game in store as well.
Good game.
Dave, is Belarus against Wales.
Yeah, not an easy game for the Welsh boys, but I'll again go for a victory for the home nation and 2-1 Wales.
Okay, Kev?
I'm going 2-1 Belarus.
Oh, okay.
On this one.
Okay. I've got 2-0 to Wales, as has Darren. Mr. Bevington's gone for a 1-1 draw. Jace has gone 2-1 to Wales, as has Tony. So there we are. We will have the results midweek of our first winner. Hopefully, one of you guys will beat Dave Beasant or Super Kevin Campbell and win your choice of DK hot sauce. Can't wait for that, by the way. Brilliant stuff. Well done to Danny Kwang for sponsoring our section. Great stuff. Listen, it's been a wonderful, wonderful show. Real shame that the VAR let Mark Halsey down, but we will get him back on. Dave, I can't let you go without asking. We've had Warren Barton. We've had Laurie Sanchez on. And if you can keep it clean, you've got to tell us your favourite Crazy Gang story before we leave.
There are
so many.
The problem is keeping it clean. That's the thing. On not going to get the wrath of someone. Crikey.
Bez, is it true that before the cup final, the night before the cup final,
yes,
the manager took you out for a few beers?
Well, he didn't take us out. We was. I mean, this was a thing that we used to always have a drink the night before, and it wasn't a silly drink. It was a pint, and we was in the hotel, and Bobby Gould. I think he sensed this is where he sensed that there was a bit of nerves, and you know that you can waste so much energy, nervous energy, the night before, and so he just said, well, you know, Dave, what would you normally go for a beer, wouldn't you? And I said, yeah. He said, well, take the boys down the pub. And literally, we come out of the hotel, and it was on Wimbledon Common. And the pub that's on Wimbledon Common used to be the dressing rooms when the old Wimbledon used to play on Wimbledon Common. So we walk in there, and there's the Wimbledon fans getting ready for the next day and singing. And it was like walking into the bar in the OK Corral. The doors open.
Everybody stops.
Silent, you know. And we went out there, and me and Sanch, we used to have a pint of Guinness, and so we'd have a Guinness, Thorny and Corky, and a few of the other boys would have a pint, Fash and Carlton Fair, whatever, and orange juice. I think Vinny was on the orange juice in those days because when he's off the orange juice, he's a different man. I mean that was just the way we done things, and all true, Kev.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, mate.
Absolutely amazing.
And won the cup. There you go.
And won
the cup. Saved the penalty.
The thing is, Kev, I done it on my debut for Newcastle as well. I come down to the bar and Willie McFall's in there, and I went, I'll have a pint of Guinness. He went, you what? I said, he went, don't let the other lads know you have a pint the night before the game. We lost 4-0.
Oh, geez. Oh no!
Absolutely brilliant. Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure. We will definitely have you back on toward the end of the season, halfway through, and let's see where we're at. Kev, what have you got on this week? More football stuff. I mean, I know
more football stuff. All football, mate.
You've got to keep that thick skin on with these podcasts because I know you're getting battered.
Listen, the tin hat is on, and I'm putting on the bulletproof, mate. Trust me.
They're putting on the. Let's hope Lee Charnley's got his tin hat on because we've covered who the best transfer window was. Newcastle issued a statement yesterday. basically saying why they hadn't bought anyone. It was down to COVID. No club has bought anyone, according to Lee Charnley and Mike Ashley. So we'll leave it at that. We look forward to going to Old Trafford next week and marking Cristiano Ronaldo out of the game. From all of us at Hollywood Balls, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.